Okay, here's an Alex problem dealing with some of the properties of electromagnetic radiation. And here it says, suppose a popular FM radio station broadcasts radio waves with a frequency of 102 megahertz. Calculate the wavelength of these radio waves and be sure your answer has the correct number of sig figs. Okay, so dealing with sig figs, I think this is likely where we're going to have 3 sig figs. And so what are some of the equations that we use when we deal with electromagnetic radiation? We know that the speed of light, which is c, is going to equal the wavelength, which is a lambda, times the frequency, which is this nu right here. And so speed of light is a constant that we can look up. We're trying to calculate the wavelength, and then we're given the frequency. So we're trying to calculate wavelength, so let's just solve for that, and that is wavelength equals the speed of light divided by the frequency. Well, if we look up the speed of light, generally we can use 3.00 times 10 to the 8th meters per second. Okay, and the frequency here is given in megahertz. Well, we want to get that in hertz into a cycle per second, so just do that right here. I have 102 megahertz, and I know that in 1 megahertz there are 10 to the 6th hertz, or cycles per second. And so if we were to do that math, the way I would do it in my laziness is I do 102 and 6 zeros. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's going to be in hertzes or cycles per second. And so if we do that math, then we are going to end up with 2.94 meters. I always marvel at how long radio waves actually are for some reason. Okay, so that is the right number of sig figs. We deal with 3, and that's how you deal with these problems. Sometimes you have to calculate the wavelength, and sometimes you have to calculate the frequency, and just make sure you get your units right. For example, knowing we had to convert megahertz to hertz, and it's finding that out. A lot of times we'll have to calculate meters and go to nanometers. And so those are just some of the tricks that might come up in problems such as this.